Welcome to This is Jax. It's a hyper-local podcast from Jacksonville, Florida. Are you thinking about maybe digging your roots in here in Jacksonville? You want to start a business, maybe run for office. Maybe you're not from Jacksonville, but you're thinking about making a move here to Jacksonville. You want to raise a family, then this show is for you. Every week, I basically just dive into the local housing market and our local economy. We're not doing top 5 restaurants or who's who in the social scene. There's plenty of that information out there. Instead, we're going a little bit deeper. We're talking about topics that actually matter to you as both a homeowner and, a citizen here in Jacksonville. And ultimately, someone who is investing in our city and in our community. So that's the purpose. I strive to vet and interview high quality guests, primarily business owners and local leaders. So these are people who are elected officials, or maybe hold positions around the city, like urban planning and development, that type of thing, as well as business owners. We're really looking for someone that, like, if something unfortunate happened and you were gone tomorrow, the city would really miss you, and your decisions and what you bring to the table, to the community, actually has an impact on those who live and work here in Jacksonville. So if you want to get to know a city, look no further than those who make it run, those behind the scenes. And that's what we're doing. If this is your first time here, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know you're here. I'd love to hear from you. Welcome to This is Jax, a hyper-local podcast. We're going to do our best. We're going to bring on successful business owners, the people who drive the cities, share a lot about what makes our city so great, so you can be confident and comfortable. This is a city that you want to call home. So we're going to get into a couple topics today. We're going to talk about the 2024 real estate market as we're, now into Q4 and we're looking to get in that holiday season. I know there's still a little bit of year left, but I kind of want to recap and then plan ahead moving forward into 2025. What's the forecast if you're thinking about selling your real estate here in Jacksonville in 2025? I've got a cool challenge at the end. But first, before we begin, shout out to my loyal fans, my loyal friends, and my clients. We look back at our real estate business from 2024, and I'm proud to say that the entire business, the last 20 transactions that we did, most recent, they were all repeat clients or client referrals. There were a couple new connections there that were still part of our sphere though. So ultimately it was a 100% organic business. And anytime that's happening where you run a business and people are sending you clients, people who have hired you for your services are sending their friends and family members, that's confirmation of service. So my team and I, we strive to offer the highest level of service for our clients. So I really mean it as a thank you. We really appreciate your business and appreciate your loyalty. And we want to go out and do the best for you. Like any business, we're not perfect and we're always learning. So chances are every single time we get better. So I'm proud to say that 2024, while a lot of people in the industry faced some challenges and were struggling to do business, we're probably having our most productive year since I reactivated my license in 2018. So that's a testament to the service that not just me, but the members of my team are great. We have vetted out any outsourced team members that we use. And every single time we're looking at those good, bad others. What did we do good? What were some bad things we do? And what were just general things that we noticed? And how do we go into the next scenario and do it better? I'm a Navy veteran, and when I flew in helicopters and when we did missions, or if we went in the simulator, that good, bad, other, that was something we did as a debrief. And I remember at the time as a young air crewman sitting there out in like Fallon, Nevada, where, we'd go out on the range and there'd be a ton of F-18s and a ton of helicopters. And then we would have to go debrief and it would take hours. And it seemed like the worst thing ever. But if there was one thing that I brought from my military experience and brought it into our world as business owners, that was definitely it. Looking at those good, bad, others. So something that at the time I thought was like, I knew it was important, but it drove me nuts. Now I really value that lesson, and I value that we're able to bring that forward to the community that we're in. So again, thank you to my clients. I know some of you are out there listening who are our past clients, and we're looking forward to our Beach Bowl night, which is coming up. It's an annual end of the year party. And then at the end, I've got something I want to share with you. So if you stick around, I've got a challenge to everybody. That's going to be a really cool event that we're doing next May. All right. So I want to get into a couple things here. I want to talk about first some data. What did we see in 2024, and what can we expect to see going ahead in 2025? 2024 was a challenging year for real estate, both nationally and locally, even here in our local market. It was a tough year. Some of the things that made it tough. One was, we had a rules change that came out August 17th. We had low inventory. Interest rates have been pretty high for a while. And then on top of that, it's an election year. So there is just so much noise that it's hard to get out there, get the data that you're looking for, because it's just buried in all kinds of political noise out there. So you're just trying to live your life, either run your real estate business, or if you're trying to make a move and decide is now a time to buy a house, is now a time to sell a house, what's going on, who's going to be in charge of the city next year. It makes it really tough. So let's get into those things. First, I want to talk about the rule change effective August 17th, 2024. So short explanation of what was going on. Basically, sellers are no longer obligated to offer a compensation to the buyer's representative upfront. Now, some go back and forth and say, hey, they never were obligated to do that. And that is true. They weren't obligated to, but the general public felt like they had to. So they no longer have to offer that compensation out there. So what does this mean to you as a seller? You're basically in a little bit better position. It makes it a little bit easier for you, a little bit lower cost potentially, because you're not paying for a buyer's representative. However, the buyers are still going to negotiate for you to give a concession so that they can pay their agent, right? They're going to be looking to do that. So it's more important than ever to have a highly skilled and experienced agent. It's more important than ever. You really need that. I like these rule changes because I think what they bring is a higher standard of practice. So what these changes do as well is, one of the top things is, if you're a buyer, you've got to have a buyer brokerage agreement signed. So no more just meeting an agent at the house that you don't really know, that hasn't gone over the process with you. So as a buyer, you're going to get an explanation of like, how much does it cost? Do I have to pay my agent? Are we going to negotiate the seller to still pay my agent? Are they going to pay half and I have to pay half, et cetera, right? So it puts a higher standard on the buyer agent. Nobody's going to lie, right? The industry has a pretty low barrier of entry. So while there's a lot of people in the industry, there's a lot of people that fail out of the industry. And I think for the average amateur realtor, and I'm going to go out on a controversial limb here and say the bartender, the stay-at-home mom, your aunt's friend who's had 3 different career changes and now she's a real estate agent, if anything, it's going to possibly hurt those agents. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot of good agents that were stay-at-home moms that got their license starting to work. They're some of the greatest agents I know. So it's not a dig on them. But what I am saying is, there's a lot of people that try to do real estate part-time and they do 1 or 2 deals a year. They're not very experienced. They're not very good. And unfortunately, the people who hire them have a bad experience and they get a distaste for real estate agents in general, right? Which we know is simply not true. Real estate agents do a ton of good. They're a lot of help. They can help you save a lot of money, can help you make great financial decisions and educate you on an area in a way where you're like, man, maybe I don't want to buy a house there. Maybe I don't want to live there anymore, right? I want to sell my house, and they can help you out, right? So I think it's important. I'm excited about the higher standard practice. And so far, since the changes, I've seen nothing but good things. So I have no complaints. Our contracts here in Northeast Florida changed. And basically what happened was Florida had a set of contracts, but for some reason, Northeast Florida had developed these other contracts, right? And they were a little bit dumbed down. They were longer, they were more complex, but dumbed down at the same time. They allowed people to back out of contracts, penalty free. We reverted back to the FAR contracts, which I think are a lot better. They're clear, they're concise, they're shorter, and they don't just allow people to go under contract and walk out of the contract and get their deposit back with no penalty, right? So they really protect everybody in the process. I'm excited about them. Let's talk about low inventory. We had really low inventory this year. 4.6 million homes projected to be sold in 2024. Remember, the year's not over, so we're on pace for that. But the average for the last normal years, 2017, 2018, 2019, average 5.4 million. Remember, we say last normal years because there was the whole COVID thing. 21, 22 were out of control, a bunch of things, and then a market reset. And now here we are back to basically a normal year, but not really because this is an election year, right? So still not normal. And we're at 4.6 million homes projected to be sold. That's about a million less nationally. This low inventory, along with high interest rates, it makes it difficult for a first-time home buyer to get out there, for the average buyer to buy a home. It also makes it harder for you as a seller. I know that there's low inventory, so that should seem great, but because of the high interest rates, a lot of buyers are on the sidelines waiting for those rates to come down. And so you just don't have the movement in the market that you have under normal circumstances. We had high interest rates. 30-year average was at 7.4 in April. That's the height of buying season. The feds have cut the rate, the Fed rate, and mortgage rates did dip down, but as of today, they're still hovering around a 7% average. Most experts believe 5.5 is really the sweet spot to increase activity in the housing market. But remember, if you're a buyer waiting for those interest rates to come down, you're not the only one. There's a lot of buyers sitting on the sidelines waiting for those interest rates to come down. And as soon as they do, and they flood the market, the competition is going to be high. So supply and demand with short inventory and a lot of buyers in the marketplace, prices are going to stay high. So no one's projecting house prices to come down next year, only to continue to rise now more at average pace. So everybody's projecting about 5.4 million homes sold next year in 2025. There's a statistic that shows after an election year, those prices come up. I just wrote a blog about it. You can check it out on the website, rigsgroupfl.com. There's one there talking about the election year. It's titled Why Homes Sales Bounce Back After Presidential Election. And it deep dives it. It's an easy 3-minute read. So check it out. We'll put the link below in the show notes. That's basically what was going on in 2024. As 2025, I'm looking at the data here. I've got this data sheet. This is a NEFAR data sheet. I just printed this out today, and it shows me where the peaks are. If you're thinking about selling your house in 2025, then you need to start prepping today. As of the recording of this, it is October 30th. By the time you're listening to it, it's going to be probably mid-November. It is time to start prepping for your house, and I'm going to tell you why. You're saying, I don't want to sell my house till April, till May, when prices are at their highest. Well, believe it or not, median sales price was at its highest last year in February. Today, we're at $334. In February, we were at $349. This is Duval County, by the way, Jacksonville. If we look at list price received, so this is the price that sellers put on their house. In April, 97.7% received their list price. And the homes closed over their list price with 18%. So 18% of the listings closed over their listing price. That was at their peak. If we look back in the fall, it's like today, it's 96%. And I know it's only 1% difference, but if you're trying to sell your home for the most amount of money, the time to close on that sale is in April. So we have to kind of work ourselves backwards, right? We know that a standard contract period is 30 to 45 days. In some cases, they may be 60 to 90, but let's say standard contract period, 30 to 45 days. So if we're looking to close in April, when we know we make the most amount of money, 30 to 45 days back to that is either March or mid-March, or maybe closer to the beginning of February. So how many days is your home on market before it goes under contract? According to the data, today averages 37 days on market. But if we look back to January of 2024, we saw that it was an average of 44 days on market. So that's a month and a half on market. So if you put your house on the market in January, then chances are you're going to be on the market about 40 days. So mid-January puts us to the end of February. We go under contract, and then look at that, 30 to 45 days later in April, that's when you're getting your most money. So in order to get the most money for your house, you've got to hit the market January, February timeframe. The data is here. It's clear. We'll post that in the show notes so you can look at it yourself. January, February is when you want to get on the market. most people don't realize it takes probably about a month to get your house ready to go to the market. That's under normal circumstances. But the circumstances you're dealing with right now are New Year's Eve, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all the other holidays that come with it, right? So you need to be thinking about navigating those holidays. We're talking about getting your house, fixing all the loose items, right? Burned out light bulbs, getting that dust from behind the fridge that you never got before, making sure any of those leaky faucets and those loose door handles are taken care of. That standard homeowner maintenance that so many of us say, hey, I'll get to that when I get a chance. You need to get that done today. Then my market, you have to meet with your expert agent, because remember, especially now where you're negotiating those prices, you really want an expert agent, someone with the experience and the knowledge that knows how to handle the market, how to negotiate and how to handle, make you the most amount of money. You got to meet with them. And then after you meet with them and sign your agreement, you got to prep your house. You got to do all those little things. And then only then can the marketing team go in. There's a return for that. When your expert agent is getting videos and drone footage and 3D walkthroughs, you know, so many people call me on a Monday and they're like, hey, I want to have my house live by this weekend. Like, listen, first I have to schedule the videographer. And because I use the best videographers, they're not just available tomorrow. They might be booked a week out. And then once they come and do it, you know, I don't get my material immediately. I get it 48 hours, sometimes 3 days later. So you're talking that whole process is like a 2-week process. And then once we get it back, you know, my whole marketing team has to upload that to the portal, to the MLS, so that it's live on the internet all across the world. So it's really a process if we want to do it right. That's why I say today, middle of November, by the time you're listening to this, you're definitely going to want to be meeting with that expert agent, signing your agreement, prepping your home through December, getting it ready to go. And then January, you're ready to go. And you have peace of mind of the whole thing because you're hitting the market at the perfect time. You're going to make the most money possible for your house. So if you're selling your house in 2025, start prepping today. All right, here's the challenge I want to put out. This is to all of my listeners, to my VIPs, my past clients. It really doesn't matter who you are, but mark your calendars. May 2025, I'm hosting my annual VIP dinner. This is a big deal. It's going to be May 21st, big dinner. This is something that you really don't want to miss. Here's how you can attend. At the recording of this, we're October 30th, but from now until May 21st, the night of the dinner, if you send me 2 referrals that close, you will be invited. Keynotes here: referrals must close on the sale of their purchase, and the closing date must be before the dinner. I haven't released the location of the dinner yet, but trust me, this is going to be a baller dinner that you don't want to miss. And just think about it. It may be 10 people there, maybe 15 people there. It's an intimate evening, kid-free evening, date night type evening, all inclusive, all paid for. You don't have to spend a penny to have an awesome night out right before we go into summer. So 2 referrals must close. And this is Jax today. Thanks for tuning in to This is Jax podcast. Whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, you know, I'd love to hear from you. And if you are dug in to Jax and you've got your roots in and you would like an opportunity to come on the show, or you know someone who you think would be a great fit, then I want to hear from you. Email me at nate@riggsgroupfl.com. This is Jax, Nate Riggs Official, out.